Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video on the Gooners and Gloves podcast channel. In today's video, it's going to be the 81st Gooners and Gloves podcast, and I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts on the Victor Gyökeres versus Benjamin Šeško debate. Of course, this has been a very hot topic in the Arsenal news cycle as of late, probably the most popular story in the Arsenal news cycle. Of course, Arsenal's priority this summer is to buy a striker, and it's looking pretty much certain that one of these two at least will be an Arsenal player next season, Victor Gyökeres or Benjamin Šeško. Of course, there's been many conflicting reports about which one's the priority, which one the club wants. Reports talking that Berta wants Victor Gyökeres, and of course Arteta wants Benjamin Šeško. There's reports talking that Benjamin Šeško is the priority and that he's the one being more pursued, but then there's others saying that Victor Gyökeres is that guy. So loads of conflicting reports. However, one thing we can say for sure, it is looking pretty much certain that at least one of these two will be an Arsenal player in the summer. So I thought, why not go ahead and give my thoughts on who I think we should sign. Now, I did do a video about like a few weeks ago where I gave kind of just our three striker options. Obviously, Alexander Isak is now gone because he is going to be staying at Newcastle due to the Champions League, as we know. So he's no longer an option. However, in that video, I already gave both my pros and cons for both Šeško and Gyökeres. So if you want to see me give pros and cons, please check out that video individually. In this one, I'm instead going to be going over why I personally believe we should be signing both. Now, I feel like this isn't really as popular of an opinion, or at least it's not being spoken about as much. Most people seem pretty set on either getting Šeško on Gyökeres or Gyökeres. However, I'm personally of the belief that we should sign both Gyökeres and Šeško. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't actually think this will happen. Of course, I'd absolutely love it to happen, and it's what I personally want, and I'm going to go over in this video why that's what I want. However, I am also being realistic. We probably won't actually do this. However, if we do, I'll be over the moon, and I'm going to go over in this video why I personally want us to sign both Gyökeres and Šeško, why I believe that we should sign them both, and we should make them both Arsenal players in the summer. Will that happen? Probably not. However, I still thought it'd be interesting to give my thoughts on why I personally believe it should happen, and if it does happen, I'll certainly be ecstatic. So pretty much I'm going to go on and get into it. Of course, please comment down below what your thoughts on the Gyökeres versus Šeško debate is. Are you team Victor Gyökeres? Are you team Benjamin Šeško? Or do you agree with me and you want both of them? So please let me know down below. I'm also posted a short about this asking you guys your thoughts, so please go check out that short as well and give your thoughts on this debate. But anyway, without further ado, let's go on and jump into why I personally believe we should buy both Victor Gyökeres and also Benjamin Šeško. So the first reason is we can afford it. Obviously, as we know, Arsenal has been cleared of any FFP issues, so Arsenal's completely fine with FFP. There's no issues there. As we know, Arsenal have of course made loads of money from finishing second in the league, from getting semi-final of the Champions League, semi-final of the Carabao Cup. That does add up to a lot of money, and obviously Arsenal is quite a profitable club. They make a lot of money. We've already proven that we can spend very big in a transfer window. I mean, let's not forget a couple of seasons ago when for a combined total of about 170 million we bought Kai Havertz and Declan Rice. So clearly we can afford to buy both of these players, which put together would be around like probably 130 to 140 million, maybe at the most 150 million. So still 20 million less than what Kai Havertz and also Declan Rice together cost. So we can definitely afford to do it. So I think that's the first reason. It's quite simply we can afford it. We've got a good track record with FFP. We haven't currently got any FFP issues. Obviously, we've got loads of money from the competitions that we've been in. Admittedly, I will admit we probably would have to sacrifice at least one position that we were looking to buy if we were to do this. However, there are, I don't think we need to buy absolutely everywhere. I'm sure there's a position where the club could sacrifice in order to have enough funds to get both strikers. However, I do think if we got both strikers, we probably could still afford to get the winger that we want, maybe the backup keeper, etc. So I do definitely think that we can afford it, and we've already proven that we can spend big in a window. So that's the first reason. Essentially, we can afford it. Obviously, we have no problems with FFP. We've made loads of money from the competitions that we were in this season, and we've got loads of revenue and stuff coming in. So for that reason, I do think we've got enough money to get both of them. As I'll mention later on, they're both also interested in moves to Arsenal, and personal terms seem to have been agreed with both of them. So now it's more of just club-on-club negotiations. However, personal terms do seem to have been agreed with both of them, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. So that's the first reason we can afford it. FFP and also the money that we made from all the competitions that we were in means that we can comfortably afford this. So that is the first reason we can afford it. Next is really good flexibility. Now, obviously, having two strikers is absolutely fantastic because you can do all manner of things. You can rotate them, you can play them in a striking partnership, which I'll get onto in a second, but it's just really good to have that flexibility. You've got two proven goal scorers in your team who you've always got that reliability. Also, if one of them gets injured, you've got backup for the other. Don't get me wrong, there is Gabriel Jesus, Leandro Trossard, Kai Havertz, etc. But understandably, because striker isn't really their natural position, I mean, Gabriel Gabriel Jesus is a striker, but he's definitely more of like a, you know, left to right wing sort of focused striker where he doesn't always stay in the middle. He does tend to drift off to the wing, and Arteta's even played him on the wing a few times. And to be fair, he's gotten some really good results out of Jesus in the wing. So I'd say he's more of like a creative-minded striker as opposed to like just a full-blown clinical goal scorer. Massive fan of Jesus, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Gabriel Jesus. However, he's definitely more of like a creatively minded striker, whereas obviously what we're looking for is just a out-and-out clinical goal scorer, always going for goal, always in the box, etc. And of course, both Šeško and Gyökeres certainly provide these options. So I just think that flexibility would be really nice, having two proven clinical goal scorers. If one gets injured, you know, you can rely on the other. You can rotate them in the different competitions. You know, you can build Šeško's experience with the likes of the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, give him some league games, obviously a couple of Champions League games. And then Victor Gyökeres, you know, you've got that out-and-out goal scorer with loads of experience, which you can play in those really tough Premier League games. You can play in those really tough Champions League games. And obviously, Benjamin Šeško being only, you know, having only just turned 22 years old, it's perfect to be playing him in the likes of the Carabao Cup, the you know, some Premier League games, maybe the slightly easier ones, the Carabao Cup, the EFL Cup, build up his experience, because obviously, as we know with Šeško, he very much is a project signing, and he'll definitely take a few years to really like, don't get me wrong, I still think he'll do well, and in my opinion he will hit the ground running when he comes to Arsenal if he does, but it'll obviously take him a few years to become like just like a super clinical, you know, one of the top scorers in the league, golden boot winner, etc. That probably will take a couple of seasons. So that's the next thing, just great flexibility. I think it would just be really nice to have two clinical goal scorers in our team. We can play one over the other if they're injured. We can play them in a striking partnership if we wish. It just really offers that flexibility. Also means that we can rotate some other players in the squad and put them back in their natural positions, which I'll also get to in a little bit. So yeah, that really good flexibility of knowing that you've got two clinical goal scorers. You can play one over the other if one of them is injured. You've got the backup. You can play them in different competitions, as I said before, to build up Šeško's experience. You can play him in the likes of the EFL Cup, the EFL Cup, the FA Cup, easier Premier League games, etc. Let him build up that confidence, start to find his feet. And Gyökeres, you know, you've got the, you know, you can play him in the Premier League, you can play him in the Champions League. He's got that experience, he's got that goal scoring record where you know he'll turn up in the big games. So next, this is an obvious one. It enhances our attacking options. Now, as we know this season, don't get me wrong, I don't think our attack's been as bad as people make out. However, there's no doubt that we have definitely had a bit of a finishing problem. Now, don't get me wrong, we do still score a good amount of goals, and there were loads of games this season where, you know, we really did score a good amount. However, there's also many games where if we had that clinical finisher, it just would really have helped out. And obviously, in these two, we've got two clinical finishers. You've got Benjamin Šeško, who obviously isn't as clinical as Gyökeres. However, for his age and for the team that he plays for, he does very well. And then Gyökeres with his absolutely absurd goal scoring record and just that absolute tenacity and ferociousness, determination to score. So you've got two clinical options which really enhance our attacking options. I mean, just imagine, you know, how much joy Martinelli, Saka, Trossard, etc. will have with Gyökeres and Šeško at that number 9 position. Even Gabriel Jesus on the wing, Kai Havertz in midfield. Just imagine the sort of joy that they would get from these two being up front, whether in a striking partnership or individually. So obviously massive enhancement to our attacking options. Obviously one of them individually also enhances our attacking options, but clearly the two of them way more enhance our attacking options. And you know, because you know, defensively we're clearly fine. Like, despite all the injuries that we had this season defensively, we still conceded the least in the league. David Raya still got the joint golden glove, so clearly our defense isn't the issue. Like, our defense is completely fine. I've got no concerns with that. Obviously we didn't keep as many clean sheets as last season, but that's because of all the injuries that we had. However, we still managed to concede the least in the league for a second straight season, so obviously our defense isn't the problem. So our priority has to be having a strong attack. Obviously, in terms of attack, I think we finished like 5th, 6th or 7th, around that sort of range, which obviously isn't good enough for title challenges. But imagine right now all of the attacking options that we currently have, plus Šeško and Victor Gyökeres, you could easily see us becoming like in the top 3 or above for goal scorers in the league. So yeah, it would be absolutely fantastic. It'd really enhance our attacking options. Next is obviously the potential for a striking partnership. Now, I don't know if Arteta will definitely do this if he had them both, because Arteta doesn't play striking partnerships all that often, but again, the option is there, and that's the beauty of this. It gives that option of a potential striking partnership if we wish. I'm not saying we definitely have to do it, we might not. However, I think it would be really cool to see these two in a partnership. They definitely complement each other's styles. They both are good at different things. You know, you've got Benjamin Šeško, who's obviously got fantastic hold-up play. He can maybe stay a bit further back at points with the really good hold-up play, the really good, you know, set-piece taking, etc. You know, he's really good at set pieces, headers, movement, hold-up play, etc. And then obviously you've got Victor Gyökeres, who's fantastic at pressing and really good at finishing, who you can then go more forward. So I just think these two would complement each other really well. You can, you know, you could have Šeško with, you know, maybe the slightly more creative role and, you know, hold-up play as the striker. And then obviously you've got Victor Gyökeres just completely going up the pitch and obviously just getting all the goals that we we definitely want. So I think the potential for a striking partnership would be really exciting, and it'd be fantastic to see. So that's another reason why buying them both would be brilliant. Next is rotation. Now, obviously, one of the things this is referring to is rotating them two. However, this also refers to other members of the squad. So first of all, you've got Gyökeres Jesus. Obviously, Gyökeres Jesus one of two things can happen. Either he can be sold or he can be moved onto the wing. Obviously, he's been played in the wing before, and he definitely does well there. You know, he's had some really good games for Arteta in the wing position, and obviously the wing would provide really good coverage for example, Bukayo Saka. Now, don't get me wrong, I know we're in the market for a left winger, and I still expect us to sign one. However, this just gives us an extra option on the wing, which is fantastic. Obviously, if Gyökeres Jesus wants to, if not, then obviously he can be moved on. However, it would be a really good way to get another winger into our grasp. So right now we've obviously got Trossard, Martinelli, and Saka. So imagine now we've got Gyökeres Jesus and whatever winger we bring in. All of a sudden, that's 5 really good rotatable wingers which we've got. And the reason one of them became available is because we've got the 2 strikers, which means Gyökeres Jesus can be brought into the wing. And same argument for Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz can also be moved back to midfield, which ultimately is his preferred position. He's mentioned before that his preferred position is not striker, and that he doesn't want to play there. So he can be moved back to his preferred midfield position, hold up play, brilliant pressing, help out in terms of the attack, and get the ball over to Gyökeres and Šeško. And again, we'd have loads of options in the midfield. You know, you've got Zubimendi, who obviously we know is coming in, Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, loads of good rotation there. So basically, it just enhances your rotation abilities. It means that we've got 5 different wingers. Obviously, we've got Saka, Trossard, Martinelli, Jesus, and whatever winger we bring in, because I'd imagine we're going to buy one. And then you've got another midfield option in Kai Havertz. You know, you've got Kai Havertz, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, Martin Zubimendi, etc. Mikel Merino, of course. So it would just do really, really good for rotation, because we'd no longer have to rotate that number 9 position, because, you know, we saw different people playing it. You know, before we would see Jesus playing it, Trossard, Martinelli at one point even played it, Mikel Merino, of course, let's not forget. So definitely it'd be good to have just 2 strikers who, you know, you can keep rotating, and then you've got loads of other rotation on the wing, in the midfield, etc. So that's another big reason why I think having them both would be fantastic. The next point is that it covers both the short and the long term. So this seems to be the crux of this debate as to which one we should buy. Many people say they'd rather just buy Gyökeres, who is the proven goal scorer right now, because essentially what they feel is that we need a goal scorer right now because we need to be winning the league right now. Whereas other people are happy to go for Šeško, because Šeško is the more project signing and will probably have a higher ceiling than Gyökeres in a few years' time. But if you have them both, you've covered both of them. If you have Gyökeres, you've got the short term, i.e. you've got Gyökeres, who's the finished product now and will get the goals in now, and you've also covered yourself for the long term, when obviously when Gyökeres is, you know, 30, 31, 32, maybe not quite as good as he was. At that point, Šeško would only be like 24 years old, 25 years old, still in the, you know, in the prime of his career, still banging in the goals, probably one of the best strikers in the league. So it just means we've got both of them covered. We've got the short term covered, where we can hopefully win the league with Gyökeres, and then hopefully we can carry that on with Šeško, who will develop into, you know, one of the best strikers in the league. So that's another really good point. It just covers both the short and the long term. It means you've got that huge security with striker, and you know that for a long time you don't have to worry about buying strikers, because, you know, you've got Gyökeres, who's the finished product now, and you've got Šeško, who for the next, you know, 5, 6, 7 years will just continue excelling and continue to be a fantastic striker. The next option, as mentioned before, is that they're both interested. Now, one thing that the conflicting reports do actually seem to agree on is that personal terms have been agreed for both Šeško and Gyökeres, which means that both of them individually have expressed interest to come to Arsenal. So clearly they both want to. So for that reason, I just think we'd be foolish to miss this opportunity. You got 2 fantastic strikers who both have expressed a clear interest to come to us. Obviously, we're still negotiating with Sporting, we're still negotiating with RB Leipzig, but with the players themselves, we've got personal terms agreed. Now with Šeško, they've been agreed since last year, so obviously there's no surprise there. And obviously the fact that we've essentially got confirmation that Gyökeres has also agreed personal terms is fantastic as well. So that'll be another really good reason. Obviously they're both interested, and if they're both interested, then why not just jump on that opportunity and buy them both? You know, buy them both, develop them as strikers. It would just be brilliant. So that's another big reason. They're both interested. They've both agreed personal terms. That's the one thing that all these articles seem to actually agree on, is the fact that both of them have had personal terms agreed with the Arsenal, which means that they're both interested in coming to Arsenal and clearly both like Arteta's project. So that's another reason to buy them both. And of course, the final point, the most obvious one, tons of goals. I mean, this is very self-explanatory. Gyökeres, proven goal scorer. Šeško, proven goal scorer. Goals all around, essentially, which ultimately is what we want. We want to be, among the top scorers in the league. And I have absolutely no doubt that with these two, we can absolutely make that happen. Maybe we could make it happen with one of them as well. But with both of them, we would just be absolutely unstoppable and it'd just be amazing. So those are my reasons. Please let me know down below if you agree with me. Again, I do want to make it clear that I don't really think Arsenal are actually going to do this. However, if they do it, I'll be over the moon. It's what I want to happen, definitely. Like, I'm not saying I don't want it to happen. I'm saying I absolutely want it to happen, but I'm also trying to be realistic that Arsenal probably won't actually do it. However, if they do it, I'll be over the moon. It's what I personally want. I want us to sign both of them. However, please let me know down below if you agree with me. Are you in the same boat as me? Do you want us to sign them both, or do you believe that it should be one or the other? And if you believe that, which one should it be, Victor Gyökeres or Benjamin Šeško? It's a very interesting debate. Again, please go over to the short that I uploaded about this and comment your thoughts on that as well, as that's really appreciated. But that's going to be all from me today. Thanks so much for listening. Really enjoyed filming this podcast. As you guys may have noticed, I don't do as many like transfer news podcast now, and that's just because I find transfer cycle really exhausting, to be honest. Like, I don't want to just give you guys information that's just false or repeated, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to just give you guys information that is just the same information over and over again. I've seen so many YouTubers where they'll make like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different videos about the same player in like a week, and most of them say pretty much the same thing, and I just don't want to do that for you guys. So that being said, I will be making transfer videos when deals actually get over the line. That's my plan. When deals actually get over the line is when I'm going to make the transfer plan videos, when deals actually happen, when they get over the line, when the announcements happen. However, so yeah, for now I plan on just kind of keeping the minimal. This is obviously not a transfer video. This isn't a transfer plan video. This is just me saying what I want to happen, but it's not me telling you guys this is gonna happen, etc. So yeah, I thought I'd just go on and clarify that, why I haven't been making the transfer videos despite making an initial couple. I just simply don't want to make loads of different videos saying the exact same thing over and over again in the same way that the articles do, and obviously a lot of YouTubers do. I just don't want to do that. So hopefully you guys understand. But anyway, I feel like I've rambled on quite long. I do feel like hopefully I've been informative in this video. I've certainly tried my best, but I've really enjoyed filming this video. It's been a really good one to film. So yeah, please let me know down below where you guys stand on the Gyökeres versus Sesko debate, and I'll catch you guys with another podcast soon. Bye bye.